No, I'm not making it up. Luka Doncic has been traded to the LA Lakers. It's not rumors. It's not fake. It's a real trade. Luka and Maxi Kleber to LA for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first round pick. This is the most shocking sports transaction of my entire life. And this is the rare time where analyzing the trade isn't even the thing that we need to talk about first. Obviously, the Lakers got a fantastic deal here. They have Luka on their team now, but that's not even the thing you have to lead with. The thing you have to lead with is how did we get here? Because all of the reporting suggests that nobody knew that this was coming. The Lakers didn't know he was available. The Lakers did not know today or yesterday that they were going to be ending up with Luka Doncic. Teams around the league didn't know that he was available. How did we get here? Well, it wasn't something you would expect. It wasn't Luka going to the Lakers and saying, hey, I would like to go elsewhere. Typically, when you have this kind of a transaction, going from a team in the Mavs that's better than a team in the Lakers, but is a smaller market, typically when it's a guy that's been drafted by a team like Dallas and ends up on a team like the Lakers, that franchise cornerstone MVP caliber player requests a trade. They say, hey, I want to go somewhere else. That's not what happened. This is the rare instance in which a team looks at a perennial MVP candidate in Luka Doncic and decides, we would like to trade that guy. We don't want to be in the Luka Doncic business anymore. Luka didn't request a trade. He didn't ask out. He didn't force his way to the Lakers. The Mavs called the Lakers with this deal in mind in an effort to move Luka and move on. And there's 100 other things that can come from this deal, but we have to go back to the deal itself and somehow figure out a way to evaluate and analyze this. For me, obviously the Lakers are huge winners in this. Anthony Davis is 31 years old, giving up a future first round pick that now looks much better in terms of being all the way in the teens, the 20s. The future outlook for the Lakers is much better now with Luka on the team than it was yesterday without Luka on the team. And when you have this cornerstone franchise player now on your roster for the Lakers, there's just no scenario you can convince me that this wasn't a win for them. They honestly underpaid for Luka. No matter what you think about Anthony Davis, obviously the front office there in Dallas clearly values Anthony Davis defensively, two-way player, whatever the case may be. This is just an unbelievable haul for the Lakers. Meanwhile, for Dallas, there's no way you can convince me that this was a smart trade. There's no real rationale you can give me that makes me think, oh yeah, Dallas should have done this deal. Clearly, they value the two-way impact of Anthony Davis. They value the future first-round pick. Max Christie is fine, I guess. And the GM of the team has come out and said, we value defense. We want guys that can guard. And Anthony Davis is, at times, a defensive player of the year caliber guy. And that's something that we want in a competitive scenario alongside Kyrie Irving, alongside PJ Washington. And this identity that they had going to the finals last year largely did revolve around their defense. And then, of course, their two superstars in Kyrie and Luka. But there's no way you can convince me that there's a single Mavs fan on the planet that is excited about this deal, that thinks it's the right move. No one in the league even knew that this was a real thing, that this was a possibility, that they could possibly even move on from Luka. There's just no way you can convince me or pretty much any other rational person that this is a deal that the Mavs should have made. But that's not even the biggest part of this. The biggest part of this isn't that Luka's leaving. It's not that the trade was what it was. It's the fact that nobody knew. Sometimes this happens. Sometimes this happens around the NBA where we have a shocking trade out of nowhere. One that comes to mind is something like Pau Gasol years ago, where he ends up going to the Lakers, and most teams around the league didn't even know that Pau Gasol was available. That does happen sometimes. It doesn't happen to players like Luka Doncic. Teams around the league are not just completely caught off guard by the availability of someone like Luka. So we're probably going to get more details over the next couple of days about how exactly this happened, how the Mavs came to this conclusion, because it seems to be pretty spur of the moment. And the reason that's important is because this can't have been the best offer that the Mavs could have gotten in exchange for Luka. Something had to have happened. There had to be an inflection point, a moment that pushed them towards trading away Luka and going specifically to the Lakers for that deal. Because there's no way you can convince me that teams like the Nets, the Rockets, the Thunder, 100 other teams around the league that have a bunch of future picks that have foundational pieces they would trade. If the Mavs came out and said, hey, we're not happy with Luka, we're not happy with the conditioning, we're not happy with 100 other things, Luka Doncic is available, these sweepstakes, the offers that they would have gotten in exchange for Luka would have been incredible. It would have been completely over the top. Think about what Kevin Durant went for when he requested a trade out of the Nets. It'd be something similar to that. And in my opinion, the Mavs got significantly less in exchange for Luka Doncic at 25, 26 years old than the Nets got for 35-year-old Kevin Durant. That is malpractice. That cannot happen if you are the Dallas Mavericks. Like, if there's a scenario in which the Mavs are unhappy with Luka, they think that his conditioning isn't where it needs to be, he's not healthy enough, and maybe they think, okay, it's time to move on from the guy. First of all, that's a giant leap to make even from a team that made the finals 8 months ago, but let's just say that that's the case. You make that decision. It's a huge decision. You don't just clandestine trade Luka in the middle of the night to the Lakers. You ask every other team in the league, hey, Luka is available. What would you be willing to give up in exchange? Presumably, they didn't do that, and that's how you end up with Anthony Davis and a first-round pick in exchange for Luka Doncic. And now they've built this team that looks so much worse on paper than it did yesterday. You can say what you want to about Luka defensively, you can say what you want to about his conditioning, but all of the stuff that the Mavs are coming out and saying about how they value defense and they want to compete this season, now Anthony Davis is in a competitive situation, it's Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis and some other stuff. Like, that's the future of your team now. Yesterday, you had Luka, you had the ultimate cheat code, you had, oh, it doesn't matter if the rest of the team falls apart. If we have Luka at the center of it, we either are still going to be pretty competitive and can build around him, as we showed by making the finals 8 months ago, and or we have this massive stockpile of assets that we can trade Luka in exchange for and will be fine regardless. The Mavs decided that future, whether it be Luka at the center of their team or Luka as an asset at the center of their team, they decided that it was worth it to trade that in exchange for Anthony Davis and a first-round pick, and a team that, in my opinion, is not one of the 5 best teams in the Western Conference now, that would have been one of the 5 best teams in the Western Conference yesterday, given the fact that they literally made the finals 8 months ago. I've never seen a trade like this. I've never seen anything like this happen in sports in the middle of the season with nobody knowing. There was not one rumor over the last couple of months that said that Luka might be moved from the Mavs, that the Mavs were unhappy with Luka, that the Lakers would be in position to add Luka. There wasn't a single thing out there that pointed you to this being even remotely a possibility. And the thing that I keep coming back to in my mind as I try and process this is there's a reason these kinds of trades don't happen. There's a reason that even if you have a panic moment in the middle of the season, you say, oh my gosh, we're so frustrated with Luka's conditioning, we just want to get rid of him. Even if that happens, it doesn't get past the multiple layers of, yeah, let's make this trade that you have to get through in order to actually make the deal. The front office has to decide, yeah, we're done with Luka, we'd like to trade him. And then the ownership also has to say, okay, that's a deal that makes sense. Let's move on from this perennial MVP candidate. That's why these things don't happen, because it's not one person waking up in the middle of the night saying, we want to trade Luka now. Multiple people have to say yes to this, and yet somehow it still happened. And at the end of the day, this leads me to a bunch of questions about the Lakers specifically. Is this we're trading Anthony Davis and now LeBron is potentially going to be on the move? We want to reset our franchise around Luka, because even as good as Luka is, Luka plus LeBron is just a weird fit. There's no AD there. There's no front court presence. There's no defensive presence. I can't imagine that they're going to be really good with those two guys together. And it now brings into question, is LeBron potentially available? Is he going to go to Golden State? Is he going to go to Houston? Is he going to go to 16 other teams? Or is he just going to play out the rest of the year? And they've just completely changed and rebuilt the entire future of their team around Luka's availability and whatever he's going to continue to become over the next couple of seasons. This is as home run of a out of nowhere, I can't believe that this just happened trade as I can ever remember. You can say what you want to about Luka's conditioning. You can say what you want to about his two-way impact. Anthony Davis and a first in exchange for Luka Doncic is a deal that every team in the league would do if you're receiving Luka Doncic. And it turns out that the only team in the league that actually would do it in the reverse is the team that actually had Luka. And maybe something will come out about his conditioning or the fact that they just weren't happy with him in general. I'm sure we will get more details, but I have genuinely, this is what I've done for over half a decade. I make videos on trades, and I pride myself on knowing exactly what a deal means every single time that it happens in real time. And this is truly the one time I have been absolutely speechless. Luka Doncic is an LA Laker.